everybody.
Hey, how are you? Here, let me get
I'm doing very well. How are all of you?
We are great. So can you see us and everything?
I can see you very well. How's the weather out there?
It is beautiful. You're probably seeing different weather, right?
Yes, I see everybody in their short sleeves. I bet it's really warm. We're freezing. It's 25 degrees outside right now.
And can you remind us what state you're in?
I am in Alabama right now doing research on evolution.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, so I am Darren Massa, and this is one of my two 7th grade classes. I'm sorry to stand in front of you two, by the way. One of my two 7th grade classes, and we're really excited to have you on. We've kind of prepared some questions. These were mostly student-generated. I only have one or two, and it would be great if we could start. What?
I have a pop-up question that I just saw on our wall, and I like it.
What's on your wall that you like?
Painting, the Doctor Who painting.
Oh,
Yes, it is the exploding TARDIS from Doctor Who's Van Gogh episode.
Yeah.
Dude, you already got one kid hooked, so nice work.
There we go. Outstanding.
All right. So can we go ahead and get started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, Carson, go ahead and ask your first question.
What did you want to be when you grew up? And what was your childhood like?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second part. What did I want to be when I grew up and what?
What was your childhood like?
Well, I grew up on a farm, and so I was always around a lot of animals, and I always wanted to be a doctor or a veterinarian. So when I got older, I actually started taking science classes and looking into going into the medical field, and I just fell in love with science. So I started taking every science class that I could when I was in high school, actually.
Excellent. All right. Liz, can I ask number 2?
Yeah. Can you describe what your elementary/middle school experiences with science were?
Well, when I was in elementary school, I went to a very small school out in the country, and so we did a lot of things that were outside and got to have a lot of animals. So I remember things like having chickens in the classroom. We had baby chicks that we got to raise from eggs and things like that. But we didn't have a lot of science in elementary school. Maybe 20 or 30 minutes during the day. It wasn't until I got in middle school and I had this really amazing 7th grade teacher who let us cut things open and poke around in dead things. I remember getting to dissect things and do experiments with the human body, and I was hooked. Then in 8th grade, we got to do physical science and play with chemicals and do all kinds of really neat experiments. And after that, it was just my favorite subject.
Great. We do a similar thing in California. We have, and as you know, the new science standards are coming into play, which will integrate things a lot better. But so we have mainly life science in 7th grade. They're doing cell biology, genetics, evolution, some basic taxonomy, and then body systems and stuff like that. And then 8th grade, same thing, physical science, basic chemistry and astronomy and physics, and so it's a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff. Can I ask what size town did you grow up in? You said it was small.
Well, when I was first growing up, I think we maybe had 1,000 people in the community where I lived, and then when we moved, when I was in the 7th grade, the town had 50,000. So it was a pretty big jump from a town of 1,000 to a town of 50,000 for me.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how that happens. All right, Will's going to ask our next question.
What was your favorite science project / assignment in school?
One of my favorites was a leaf collection that I did, and it's funny, I actually found it the other day when I was visiting my mom. She still has it. I don't know how, because I thought it would have been long gone by now, but I got to go out and collect 25 different leaves from different trees and things that grow here in Alabama when I was in 7th grade in life science class. And I got to go all over the farm where I grew up, so it was a way of going back to the community where I grew up. Got to go and visit my grandparents and some friends and just kind of explore. Went to the national park and went on my first trip rappelling and rock climbing to get to do that project to find some of the leaves. So it was really a lot of fun, and I learned from that experience that science doesn't just happen in a lab. It really happens all over the place. And even now, a lot of what I do when I go out and collect samples, when I go out and talk to people, it doesn't happen in a lab coat with goggles. It happens out in communities. It happens out in the woods. It happens all around us, and we don't always think about that. So science is something that happens outside of a building as much as it does inside of the building. So if you love being outdoors, if you love rock climbing and rappelling or swimming or being in caves and playing with salamanders, there's a field of science for that.
Awesome. Thank you. I've lost track. Corey, number 5.
Told you. What is it like to be a female in the scientific field?
You know, it's different sometimes. Things are definitely changing. You know, you've probably heard stories. I don't know how far you've gotten into genetics, but you've probably heard stories about what scientists like Weber and McClintock went through with Rosalind Thompson, that in the past they were not allowed to share their research. How many of you have heard of Peter Rabbit? The story Peter Rabbit?
Peter Rabbit. Heard of Peter Rabbit.
How many of you know that Beatrix Potter was a scientist?
Oh, no. The author. Okay.
Everybody? Well, the writer, the author of the Peter Rabbit books, was actually a scientist, and I encourage you, I'm not going to tell you what she did, but she has a rather famous discovery in science. So I encourage you, when we finish today, to do a little bit of research to find out her contribution to science. Many people don't even know she was a scientist because she wasn't allowed to share her research. These days, women in science have plenty of opportunities to share their research and to excel in science. Now, sometimes it's still difficult. Things are not exactly where they should be, but they're certainly not where they were even 5, 10 years ago. So I find that most of my colleagues are extremely welcoming. We work very well together, and the opportunities that are here for me now are equal to, if not more than, what they could have been 5 years ago. So it's really incredible.
And is the breakdown of gender in science departments and the universities you're at, is it pretty equal, you'd say, or?
No, it's really not. There are still very few women in science in the faculty fields. Usually very few women compared to men, but it's starting to balance out. We find more and more as more people retire out of the field that there are more women being hired into the field, more minorities being hired into the field, just because there are more women and minorities graduating from universities in the field. Whereas before, most of the opportunities, most of the graduates were males. Now we have many more graduates coming out of programs who are representative of a range of people in the population.
Yeah, I think I told them a while back that when I got my bachelor's degree in '98, I would say our breakdown of males and females in the biology degree was pretty even. Which was great.
Absolutely, and it is now. It is now.
Excellent. Okay. I lost track. Oh, it's me. It's Mike. Who did I skip? Sydney, I skipped you. Oh, she already answered your question. Okay, great. So I get to ask 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
They're going to be really good. So we spent a lot of the beginning of the year talking about scientific literacy and misconceptions and things like that. So what does scientific literacy mean to you, and why is it important in your field?
Ooh, that is a good question. For me, scientific literacy is the ability to really think and make decisions based on the information that is out there logically. There is so much misinformation. Think about all the things that you see on the news, that you hear on television. Think about your shoes. How many of you like shoes? Okay? How many things do you see on TV that tell you that this pair of shoes will make you jump higher? Or this pair of socks has copper in it, so it's going to make you heal faster. Have you heard these claims before? And then they want to charge you $150 for that pair of shoes because it's going to make you a better athlete. Well, scientific literacy, part of that is understanding how the body works and understanding, no, that shoe is not going to make you a better athlete, and no, having copper in those socks is not necessarily going to make you heal faster. And why does that happen? It allows you to make informed decisions about things that are happening in your world. And it's not just about things that are overtly scientific. Not everything is science from the textbook, but it's all around you. How many times have you heard 4 out of 5 dentists say this? Anybody ever hear that before?
What?
4 out of 5 dentists say.
Oh,
Yeah.
They code it.
That your gum is better or it's going to whiten your teeth. Well, is there a difference between going out and asking 5 dentists which gum they like, or asking 5,000 dentists which gum they like? Is there a difference? Yes or no? What do you think? Okay, so scientific literacy informs our understanding of that. It really has a power behind it. And understanding science and the knowledge behind that is what allows you as a person to make good choices. It's what lets you know, hey, this shoe, no matter what they say, is not going to turn me into Kobe Bryant, right?
Right.
Just because I have this shoe on doesn't mean I'm going to be the next big NBA star. Just because I have this pair of socks on doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to be able to run out on a football field and hit like Rob Gronkowski.
There we go. Patriots.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, all of those things are scientific literacy, and you never even knew you were thinking scientifically, right, when you make these decisions. But it is science literacy, and it all has to do with having a better understanding of not only how research is done, but about how the body works, about how things interact with each other, about how things rely on one another, about how we respond to stimuli. If you go out in the ocean today and you see a fin, hopefully you're going to run away, right? Everybody nod, yes. Okay. Because we've been conditioned that if we see a fin in the water, that might be a shark, and we're not going to run out there and try to punch it in the face. We're going to get out of the water as fast as possible because we don't want to get eaten or bit, right? Wait. Hope so. Okay, we don't want to be on the news. No shark bait. So all of that ties to scientific literacy. So it's important because it's what makes you make better choices.
Yeah.
Not just when it comes to science class, but in everyday decisions.
Yeah. Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, we talked about being voting citizens, and not everybody in this room is necessarily going to become a scientist, although I'd love that. But we're all going to be part of a voting public, and a lot of these things that we vote on have a big scientific basis behind them.
Absolutely.
So.
And even beyond those voting issues, everyday choices, good choices have to do with science. So.
Yeah. So I know you deal a lot with a lot of these misconceptions, and I know you've done a lot of research on how to deal with public misconceptions, and you have anything you can shed light on about that, about how we best deal with some of those things that we see on Facebook that come up that are They're
So many misconceptions.
too many to deal with. But.
In terms of misconceptions and how you do, in which way? You mean how to combat misconceptions?
Yeah, or how to teach people to be good consumers of internet information on the web. And
You know, the best thing that you can learn how to do, whether it's on the web or off the web or really in anything that you do, is to be skeptical about what you see. My mother always told me, don't believe anything that you read or anything that you hear and only half of what you see. And it's kind of a good rule of thumb. Anything that you see that looks too good to be true, or anything that you hear, do some research. Learn how to be a good researcher, and anything that you're curious about, look for 2 different resources about it and learn something. Even if you feel like it's a waste of your time, worst case scenario, you're learning 2 new things. So look up something that supports what you're trying to learn about and look up something that's against it. Because then you'll learn both sides of an argument. And I always tell people, if, you know, for example, with evolution, I often hear people say things like, it's just a theory. And they haven't taken time to understand that the word theory for a scientist doesn't mean that it's just a guess. And so I say, okay, well, why don't we talk about what the word theory means? And I say, if you really want to understand something, if you have a misconception about something, or if there's something you want to learn about both sides of the argument, and then you become truly educated.
Yeah, great. I think we do kind of get lazy on the web sometimes and just repost something because it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's kind of an epidemic of reposting things without even reading what you're posting.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure I've been guilty once or twice. All right, so thank you for that. Let's see, number 9, right?
No, you just had that one.
What? No.
Let's see doing that.
Number 9 is
No, I have somebody doing 11. Savannah.
No, it's 10.
What?
10. The
What's he doing?
Oh, you're great. Oh, yeah. I'm
Oh.
sorry. My fault. Deacon, right?
What? No, I'm doing 12. Okay.
Yeah, ask yours.
Okay. What's your greatest accomplishment?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Personally, my greatest accomplishment is my family. Professionally, working with the Smithsonian is my greatest accomplishment. I always loved the Smithsonian museums when I was a kid, and when the Smithsonian came to hear me speak at a conference, that was probably one of my biggest moments. If you've ever seen a grown-up go, that was it. I'm sure you really wanted to see that, but when the Smithsonian comes to hear you speak, that's kind of a big thing, and so for me, that was my big moment professionally. So getting to work with them has just been an outstanding thing. They're just as fun as you would imagine working with a group like the Smithsonian would be. So it's almost like getting to be a little kid again, because you get to go in and play with all of the coolest toys you could imagine from history, only in science. So all of Darwin's collections are there, all the dinosaurs, you know, the greatest gems in the world are at the Smithsonian, and you get to go in and play with it. And see everything behind the scenes. And if you've ever seen Night at the Museum, the second one, Battle of the Smithsonian, it's really cool. So that was kind of my big moment professionally.
I also just have another quick one. Have you met any Christian scientists in your field?
Yes, I have. Very, very many. There's this misconception that because somebody's a scientist that they don't have religion, and that's really not the case. There are actually a lot of scientists who are very, very religious, and a lot of different religions. I know a lot of scientists who are Christian, who are Muslim, who are Jewish, who are a wide range of different religions, because you don't have to be one or the other. You can be a scientist and still be religious. And, I'm not sure where the idea that you have to choose between the two really comes from, but that's not really the case. You can be a Christian or whatever kind of believer you want to be and still be a scientist. There's really not a conflict there. There doesn't have to be.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for calling. All right, Lexi, are you up? Is there no Savannah? Did I miss one? Savannah.
Yeah. Okay. What would you be doing if you weren't doing your job that you have now?
If I weren't doing the job that I have now, that's a really interesting question. I really can't see myself doing something that isn't in the sciences. I would probably be doing something in medicine. Like I said, I always wanted to be a doctor. I made the choice in college to go a different direction because I wanted to have a family. And it's a little bit harder if you go into something like trauma medicine, which is what I wanted to do, just because you're on call 24 hours a day and things like that, to have a family. So I made a decision to go the PhD route instead of the MD route. That was a choice that I made. But I probably would be a medical doctor if I weren't a PhD.
I'm not sure the PhD was any easier route.
It's not really an easier route. You're not on call 24 hours a day, but you still spend a lot of time in the lab or in the field, outside, traveling, and things like that. But I actually have a 13-year-old. Would you like to meet him?
Sure. Yeah.
Come here.
Over here.
My son is a 7th grader, so.
Oh, that's a bonus. Hey! He's wondering how he got roped into this.
So he's actually got to spend a lot of time in the lab with me growing up. So do you want to tell him, did you enjoy getting to spend a lot of time in the lab growing up? Oh, now you get shy.
Yes.
So he got to spend a whole lot of time in the lab with me growing up while I was working on my degrees and things like that. So he's in the 7th grade too. So.
Awesome. These guys are being shy right now too. Normally they'd be swinging from the room.
He's the same way. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go back in.
Good to see you. Oh, that's great.
You put me on the spot, Mom. Jeez.
Your son, that was a bonus. All right, Lexi, when we were going over, I have to say something about this question. We were going over questions, and a lot of questions were being thrown around, personal type questions and sciencey type questions, and this one came out, and I was like, wow, this is a good question. This is super specific. So go ahead.
What are your thoughts on the tilt down hoax?
Okay, I couldn't hear the last part. What are my thoughts on what?
The tilt down hoax.
The Piltdown Man.
Ooh. Piltdown Man, and there have been a few other hoaxes across history, have done a lot to kind of fuel the fire when it comes to human evolution and evolution doubters. And, wow, that's a really good question. As far as my thoughts on that, I think in the long run, it's hurt us in a lot of ways because it's given people the idea that scientists will go to any extreme to prove human evolution. And so I've had that argument, well, Piltdown Man is a thing, or, scientists will plant evidence, or, people will plant evidence to make it seem like this happens. I've had that come up quite frequently in conversations with people, so it kind of aggravates me. On the other hand, I think that there are always going to be things like that happen. So as far as my thoughts about it, it's just frustrating. I hope that things like that are part of the past. I think these days, with what we do and the testing and the technology we have, it's less likely that that kind of thing will ever happen again. Just because when we go out into the field, everything is so intimately documented. You know, pictures are taken, video is taken. You know, we have such extensive testing and DNA testing and things like that. It would be so much harder to pull that kind of hoax today. But
Yeah.
it's so frustrating because people hang on to things like that, and they hang on to them for a very long time. And so it does harm. You know, it does harm, and it kind of fuels the fire in a lot of different directions when it comes to controversies about things like evolution or controversies about people not trusting scientists.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's great. Good question, by the way.
Very good question.
That one doesn't come up very often in my class, so
No, that's outstanding.
that was great. Okay, Melissa, right? Yeah.
What's your advice for budding scientists?
Budding might be my word. Is that my word?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like
Do you want to reword that in 7th grader terms?
What's your advice for future scientists?
Ask questions. Explore. Get outside and just really find things that are new. One of the things that I got the opportunity to do at a young age was go to a university and just talk to people. And don't be afraid. Just because somebody's a scientist doesn't mean that you can't go up and ask them questions. Because we're curious too. We love to answer questions. And we were just like you. And what better way to start out than to make connections like that? You never know what scientists at a university might have a summer institute or a summer camp or work with a field program that you can go to and get your start or get a publication. Do you know that you can publish in 7th grade if you want to, and that there are journals and conferences that you can go to that will put your work in a journal, a real scientific journal, or that you can present posters right next to scientists? We love it. We encourage it because we want to have the next generation as excited about what we do as we are.
Yeah, when I was on, and I talked to them about the fact that you were tweeting for Real Scientists a couple weeks ago now. And when I did it, that was one of my calls to scientists was, let's connect and do things like this. You're the first one, by the way, that I've done, so thank you for this. But that I wanted to do this. I wanted as many classrooms as possible, as many kids as possible to get experiences like this with scientists. I can bring people from Chico State University, but to get people in different parts of the nation and even the world is awesome. And I had over 60 scientists that signed up and were willing to do these kinds of things. So we certainly appreciate that connection.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I enjoy doing it. And, you know, we really love this. In the summer, I work with a field school, and we have kids from grades 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th that we get together with for a week at a time. And we do dissections. We go out in the field. We get them together in the lab. And we do science. And we do publications when we can. And we just have a good time with it. So it's never too early to start doing things and exploring fields and getting started. Finding things that you love to do and getting passionate about something. And if you change your mind 1,000 times, you know what? That's okay. Because you're finding new things that you like and that you enjoy. And one day you'll find exactly where your fit is. And it may be something totally unexpected. And who knows? You may be the person that finds a brand new protein that is the missing link to curing cancer. Who knows? All it takes is one person asking the right question. And that's personally what I fell in love with science, is that anything is possible. Anything. All we need is one person asking the right question and the right technology to do it.
That's great. We have about 2 minutes. Do you mind if we ask you a couple of just like lightning round questions, a couple of fast response?
Okay.
All right, and these are just kind of frivolous and fun, by the way.
All right.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Caleb.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Yes!
Yeah.
Wait, the other one.
I'm the opposite. Go ahead. What's the other one?
Or Apple or Android?
Android.
All right. Ellie. Quick.
What's on your bucket list?
Ooh, let's see. Go sailing in the Pacific.
Ooh, that's nice.
We can help you with that.
Hike Yosemite. Hey, there we go. Hike Yosemite. And go back skiing in Colorado.
Excellent. Sophie.
Cat or dog person?
Both.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Alex.
What's your favorite Big Bang Theory character?
My favorite TV character? Courage the Cowardly Dog.
From The Big Bang Theory. Do you watch
Big
that?
Bang Theory. Oh, I don't know. I've been told I'm a mix of Penny and Sheldon.
And Brayden.
Which one would you rather, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah! Okay, I've got to get this class to their elective period. I'm sure you've got other things to do. So can I get my whole class to say thank you?
Thank you for having me. Y'all have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too. We'll keep reading. Thank you.